Can you come forward, closer to the microphone, please?
What Islam says about the illegitimate children and about their rights, or the rights of children.
Well, Islam says that they should not be born, but once they come into existence, nobody has a right to take their life or treat them differentially or in any way to put them to any, a second-rate position as far as the right of living is concerned, as far as human dignity is concerned. Neither the Holy Quran nor Hadith throws even the remotest reflection on the illegitimately born children as far as their dignity, human dignity is concerned. They do not share any crime of their parents, and they are as noble citizens of Islamic society as others.
But they are taken for infrahuman creature in Islamic society.
Pardon?
They are taken for infrahuman creature in Islamic society.
Which is, don't say Islamic society. Islamic society is woven around the principles laid down in the Holy Quran, not in an Arab country or in a Turkish country or any other country of the world. What do you mean by Islamic society? As I understand the term, it should be a society built on the Holy Quran and the tradition of the Holy Prophets of Islam. I know no other Islamic society. So if a Muslim society has deviated from the clear-cut Islamic principles, why nobody has a right to call that society an Islamic society? And if you go by such misnomer, then everywhere Islamic society will be presenting a different picture. In some countries Islamic society would be different, and in some others quite different from that one, and so on and so forth. Any other question, please? Bashir Yad Sahib is, as we call it, par tol rahe hain. Is ready to pounce upon the opportunity. So I should first give an opportunity to someone else, please. All right, Bashir Yad Sahib, you come and occupy your place. Assalamu
Before the Friday prayer, we normally say for Sunnah.
Yes.
But when we join Asr prayer with the Friday prayer, what should we do in that case?
Well, the minimum necessary is 2 rakat. If somebody knows that Asr is going to be joined with Zohar, that is Jummah, 2 prayers of 2 rakat of Jummah cannot be shed. So they should be said before that. These 2 rakats are to be said, to be performed even while you are on a journey. While other sunnahs are forgiven, you don't have to say the sunnah during a journey. But 2 rakat of Jummah are necessary. That is perhaps because Jummah is originally 4 rakat, and the 2 sunnah supplemented the Jummah. The 2 fallen rakat, are supplemented by the 2 sunnahs. But anyway, whatever the reason be, this is the edict.
I was saying always in the past, but today I was not very sure, I did not say. to the cause. What should I do in that case? Should I say in the text following?
No. Whatever you have forgotten, you should perform that when you remember it. If it is possible to do
I
that.
did not forget it. I thought that...
Well, anyway, whatever we have omitted out of omission or forgetfulness, whatever it is, when you come to know of it, that is your remembrance of, sort of. So now I remind you that this you should have said that. So you better say it when you are free. Yes?
Second question.
Yes, please.
In the Holy Quran, it is mentioned that Allah Ta'ala has sent prophets among all the nations in the world. There have been some top-level prophets, for example, Hazrat Moses alayhi salam and the Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Others have been non-law-bearing prophets. I shall be most grateful if Hazrat most kindly advise us who were the law-bearing prophets mentioned in the Holy Quran apart from the prophets mentioned above.
Above you mean Hazrat Rasul Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Hazrat Musa. Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, according to my interpretation of the Holy Quran, was a law-bearing prophet. Before him, Hazrat Nuh was a law-bearing prophet. And before him, Hazrat Adam alayhi salam was the first law-bearing prophet. These five are positively law-bearing. Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam has two positions. One, before the age of Hazrat Noah's Sharia was over, that was 950 years since it came, Hazrat Ibrahim lived 50 years of his life during his Sharia. So, وَمِنْ شِيَّتِهِ Ibrahim refers to that. In the first period of Hazrat Ibrahim's life, he followed the Sharia of Hazrat Nuh. After that, the law was given unto him. This is why the Holy Quran repeatedly refers to his deen. And all his progeny is also mentioned to be following his deen, Ibrahim's deen. Doesn't go farther beyond it. So from that I can infer that about if the dates are correct, as recorded by history, and if they tally exactly with the Holy Quran's version of 950 years of Noah's Sharia, then Hazrat Ibrahim ﷺ was revealed a new Sharia at about the age of 50. And from then on, he was on his own. So these are the five law-bearing prophets of which we read the account in the Holy Quran. But in other regions of the world, different laws came. And for instance, in India, it seems that Hazrat Ram was the law-bearing prophet, and Hazrat Krishna came in the law of Hazrat Ramchandra. And in China, Hazrat Confucius seems to be the law-bearing prophet. Before him also there might have come some or many, but we don't know. Hazrat Confucius, I have read his books, his teachings, and I know he was a regular prophet of Allah and a law-bearing prophet as well, for that matter. So also in other regions, if you search, you would come across some law which was revealed to a prophet of God. Yes, please, you wanted to say something? No, behind you. Well, so you have come from Uganda?
Yes.
When?
I have been here for...
Pardon?
I have been here for some months.
Some months.
Yes.
Yes. I thought you might have returned to Uganda.